Let's begin with week 1. That's April 12th to April 18th. And as you can see in the background, you see this final study plan calendar. This is the resource that I've created, and I am going to send out to the both of you when we're done with the workshop today. All right, so the first step during week 1, so starting on Monday, is to organize your materials and to plan. And you should first make a list of all of the materials that you have on hand to study from, but you should also take it a step further and actually group these items together. So if you're not already keeping them in a folder on your computer, or if you've not printed them out and they're in a binder or something like this, then you want to go ahead and organize them now. So if you have class notes, put them in a folder and put them in chronological order, so in date order. This could include your own personal notes. It could be teacher notes, lecture videos, notes from online, different videos, your textbook. If your teacher offers those PowerPoints, study guides, handouts, different homework, all of these are materials that you should be organizing in the next week so that you know what you have to study from. Because honestly, I cannot think of anything more time consuming than going to study and not knowing where everything is, or having to click on 1,000 different links in order to find a video that I need, or that handout I need, or the study guide, or where on Canvas can I find the lectures. You want to spend next week putting that together. My next piece of advice is, in addition to finding all of those notes and videos and PowerPoints, is that you also take a look at your syllabus. Take a look at it one more time. And yes, I know you've probably read over your syllabus during like the first week of class. You probably haven't looked at it since then, but I want you to pay special attention to, it's usually on the first page, but they're called course objectives or class objectives. And these objectives are pretty much an outline of what your professor wants you to get out of this class. And oftentimes this will give you a sneak peek of what is going to be covered on your exam. So go ahead, head back into the syllabus, read over those objectives and see if there's anything that you can detect as being new material that is going to be on that exam. Also during week 1, so next week, you should try to organize and get to know the specifics of the final. So is it going to be like certain chapters or modules, or is it going to be everything from day 1 to final day of class? Usually it's going to be that final unit, but different classes are different. So figure that one out. Do you know the exam format? You know, most professors use the same format throughout the semester. So is it multiple choice? Are there going to be free response questions? Because the format of the test really is going to impact how you prepare for it. And then last, you should think about your time limit. So do you have 60 minutes to complete 40 questions, 30 questions, 20 questions? This is going to help you figure out how much time you are going to have per question, so that when you are studying, you can make sure you're getting through the material fast enough. You can sort of time yourself to see if you're getting through the material in an adequate amount of time. Something else to think about is, are you required to use honor lock? Because that comes with its own special considerations, things you need to think about. Is your internet secure enough? Do I need to make sure that my webcam is working? You know, make sure you have your ID on you. All of these things you also have to think about when using honor lock. And I feel like I'm obligated to also mention that if you are worried about either the internet connection, webcam, you know, anything about honor lock, that we do have honor lock rooms here in the Learning Commons as well as in the library that you are welcome to use as students. All right, also during week 1, we are going back to that planning element, is that you need to think about your study method. You don't have to put it in motion, you don't have to start studying yet, but start making some decisions. First, how are you planning to study? Is it that you want to use flashcards? Because if so, then maybe that means you order some flashcards online, you look into different flashcard tools on the internet, you go to the store and buy some paper flashcards. Do you want to fill out a study guide? Great. Where is the study guide? What is the format of it? Does it cover everything that's going to be on that exam? Do you want to create a study group? Well, awesome. Who's going to be in that study group? You just want to spend your time, a little bit of time planning, so that when it does come to the week before finals, you don't have to think about all these things. All of these decisions are already made. And speaking of which, and this is often the hardest one, you should also choose what sort of stress management method you want to use during finals week. Because finals and studying for finals can be a really stressful time. So if you take a little bit of time, a little bit removed from the exam, and identify, one, how you are going to eliminate distractions that come up, how you're going to decrease those stress levels while you're studying or while you're taking the exam. It takes all of the guesswork out of it. You don't have to make so many decisions when it comes to exam week. Think about it now, write it down somewhere, and then hopefully later you could just put it into action. You don't have to worry about that dreaded anxiety leading up to a test. All right, and the last step during week 1 is to think about a plan for weeks 2 and week 3. So in week 2, this is where I mentioned you focus on that study time. So I want you to start with the end goal in mind and sort of work backwards from there. So you want to mark on your week 3 calendar, this is my exam date, and then go ahead and work backwards from there. If my test is on Tuesday, then I know that on Sunday, the Sunday before, I want to feel really prepared. I know that Saturday, I want to spend some time reading. I know that the Friday before, I want to focus on my flashcards. You see how you're working backwards here, all leading up to that exam on Tuesday. And this is something that I often call it chopping up these large tasks into smaller pieces, but it's also called distributed practice. So distributing the amount of time that you spend practicing the material across different periods of time. And then you also want to make sure that you're specific about the topic. So on week 2, I would caution you against just writing study on a day. So it's like on Monday, study, Tuesday, study, Wednesday, study. No, be a little bit more specific. You could write down MGF 1106 study time or MAC 1105 study time and move on to the next day. Okay, MAC 1105 flashcards or practice test. You get what I'm saying. Be a little bit more specific so you know exactly what you'll be doing on that day instead of having to guess what you meant a couple of weeks ago. All right, and then in week 3, AKA finals week, that's where you want to plan out just 3 things. So a very quick review of the material. This is not the time for that heavy study session. You don't want to cram the night before, simply review. You want to relax, so make sure that you're planning in some of those stress management activities during week 3, and then just prepare yourself for that final. So after combining all these tips, this is potentially what your week 1 final exam study plan could look like. Even though it appears that you're completing a lot of things throughout the week, it really is just very short tasks. So for example, on Monday, my selected task is I'm just gonna pull all of the syllabus from Canvas. That'll take me maybe 5 minutes. So you see, that's not a time-consuming activity. On Tuesday, I want to go ahead and just write down when all of my final exams are. Once again, if I have the syllabus right there in front of me, that's probably going to be a very quick task, probably only 5 minutes. On Wednesday, I'm going to see if I can find out more information on the format of the test, what chapters or modules will be on that test, if there are going to be any time limits. Once again, that won't take very long. Thursday, that's where I'm going to think a little bit more about different study methods. Maybe I already have something in mind or something that's worked for me in the past. And so that may take a little bit longer, but it is a worthwhile task to undertake. And then on Friday, organizing all my notes. Perhaps you're already doing this, and if so, awesome. And then on Saturday, that's where I'm going to take some time to schedule out week 2 and week 3. So like I said, even though it appears you're doing something on every day, it's really just a small thing on every day. When you distribute the work across a longer period of time, you're never left with too much on your plate.